Chick, 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 chick.
Mai chi na?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back after the sumptuous meals that all of us enjoyed, and now we are rejuvenated and refreshed to begin with the next set of discussions, which will be absolutely knowledgeable for all of us. May I please invite everyone to take their seats so that we can begin. जितने भी लोग खड़े हुए हैं पैसेजेस में सामने की ओर, निवेदन है आप सभी से कि कृपया बैठ जाएं. आइए शुरुआत करते हैं हमारे पोस्ट लंच डिस्कशंस की, जो कि बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक्स पर आधारित है. The panel discussion which we are about to begin now is on the theme of the highway development in hilly areas. Ladies and gentlemen, let us begin with this session. With due respect, may I please take the opportunity to invite on the dais the moderator for this session, Shri Amarendra Kumar, Director Technical, National Highways and Infrastructure Development Corporation Limited. Please join hands for welcoming Shri Amarendra Kumar on the dais. जोरदार तालियों के साथ आइए अभिनंदन करते हैं. With extensive experience in planning and executing highway projects in India's most challenging terrains, Shri Kumar plays a pivotal role in driving infrastructure development in Northeast and Himalayan regions. His technical expertise, grounded in decades of field experience, ensures that quality and innovation remain central to projects in hilly and border areas. We welcome you, sir. बहुत बहुत स्वागत. Moving on, now we invite our panelists on the stage, beginning with inviting Dr. S.S. Porwal, ex-Additional Director General, Border Roads Organization. Ladies and gentlemen, please join hands for Dr. Porwal as he joins us on the stage. जोरदार तालियों के साथ आइए अभिनंदन करते हैं. He led critical hill road construction and maintenance as Chief Engineer at BRO, enhancing connectivity in challenging terrains like Jammu and Kashmir and Northeast India. He has spearheaded disaster management initiatives, including landslide mitigation and bridge projects, ensuring strategic border infrastructure resilience. बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन स्वागत. Inviting Shri S.P. Pradhan, Associate Professor, Department of Earth Sciences at IIT Roorkee. Ladies and gentlemen, please join hands in welcoming Shri S.P. Pradhan on the dais. जोरदार तालियों के साथ आइए अभिनंदन करते हैं. Though all of us have had lunch, but we seem to be low on energy. Can we have a louder applause, ladies and gentlemen? Our speakers also need to get a little charge so that they can share their perspectives and thoughts with all of us. An expert in rock mathematics and landslide mitigation, he is the brain behind Landslide Vulnerability Atlas for the Rishikesh-Kedarnath corridor and has shaped key infrastructure planning across India. With over 100 research publications and consultancy projects across India's hill regions, he has been honored with prestigious awards like the Young Scientist Award and ONGC's Award of Excellence. We welcome you, Shri S.P. Pradhan. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on, we welcome Mr. Ashish Gharpure, Managing Director of Genstru Consultants Private Limited. जोरदार तालियां Mr. Ashish Shri के लिए. With over 28 years of expertise in geotechnical engineering, he is an alumnus of IIT Kanpur and ISB. He is a licensed professional engineer in the US and a driving force behind several landmark infrastructure projects in India and abroad. We welcome Mr. Ashish. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a round of applause from everybody? And last but not the least, inviting Mr. Shwetab Singh, Director, Altinoc and Marsway. He specializes in rock engineering and underground structures. Let's join our hands for Mr. Shwetab Singh. जोरदार तालियां इनके लिए भी. बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन, बहुत बहुत स्वागत. Now we have the eminent and elite panel on stage with all of us, and before we begin the proceedings, may I once again invite Shri Mayank Tyagi to kindly please join us on stage for felicitating and appreciating the presence of each of our members here on the dais, beginning with the moderator, Shri Amarendra Kumar. बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. आइए सभी का स्वागत करते हैं और उसके बाद जो सेशन की प्रोसीडिंग्स हैं उनकी शुरुआत करेंगे. तो अभिनंदन, बहुत बहुत वंदन. Thank you very much for joining us here, and we're really looking forward to the perspectives that you will be sharing with all of us today. Thank you very much. Welcoming Dr. S.S. Porwal. Welcoming you, sir. बहुत बहुत स्वागत. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us here, Shri S.P. Pradhan. Very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us here. Mr. Ashish, thank you very much for being here in this panel with all of us. Looking forward to the words of wisdom from you sometime soon. बहुत बहुत स्वागत. And we appreciate and acknowledge the presence of Mr. Shwetab Singh as well. Thank you for being here on the panel. A very warm welcome to you. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, after welcoming each of our speakers, about our panelists here, may I please invite and request our moderator, respected moderator, to please kindly begin the proceedings of the session from here. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon to all seniors and dear colleagues. This is first session afternoon. It is difficult, but we will keep discussion as lively as possible. And the topic is also interesting. Hilly region as such, in India, we said when the hilly region, it comes including the rolling terrains, it constitutes almost 40% of India's terrain that can be classified as a rolling or hilly terrain. But road concentration and is far less than these plain areas. And when we talk about the national highways concentration in these hilly regions, that is still far less. So our experience of constructing national highways in hilly terrain is comparably not that much as in the plain area. So this make our, we are still in a learning curve in a lower level. So there is still many more things to learn and many challenges to tackle with. And we have now, this evening, we have very eminent personal panelists from this BRO who has entire career has handled these hill roads. We have academics who are doing the leading research work. And we have slope stabilization expert also as a tunnel experts. So we are expecting a very lively conversation from all of them. And as our minister used to say, in hill roads also cost cutting is required without compromising on either safety aspect or stabilization provisions. And that aspect will be also touched upon. With these words, I request first S.S. Parwal ji to start this presentation.
Good afternoon, friends, ladies and gentlemen. The highway development in hill road is a challenging task and very interesting. After joining in Government of India in 1980, so almost 37.5 years with the border areas, out of which 30 years in the field, and now after retirement also, I am still actively participating in the various development of highways, so almost 45 years. So I will try to share my experience, which will help me also and you also, because there may be some interesting questions also will be there. So I'll try to dwell upon the important areas. देखो hilly area में challenges तो रहेंगे, तो हमको इन challenges के लिए we have to find out the best answers. And hilly area में it is not one type. Each state has got its own thing. Mizoram has got a different thing, Nagaland is different, J&K is different, Himachal. So we have to deal the challenges depending on the terrain and various issues. So we have to see all the challenges and we have to work out the solutions and best practices. Now difficult terrain is known, varies from place to place. So our planning, DPR preparation, execution will depend on the terrain. And right now, the most important question, without paying attention to the terrain, we say 4-lane. If terrain is not fit for 4-lane, if we do 4-lane, we are inviting disaster. So we have to plan our DPR execution as per the terrain. And terrain ko we cannot, because we have to modify our design as per terrain. Terrain is not going to be modified as per our drawing. If we try to do that, we will pay the heavy price. Environmental construction concerns are there, so now answers are also there. Geological instability, one of the most important aspect of hill road. Here we need an active involvement of geologist, geotechnical engineer, and slope stabilization, slope management. Right now in our ecosystem, this is missing. So I think we have to supplement, this is the thing. Maintenance is the biggest challenge of hill roads. So we also have to optimize that. Now, the importance, strategic importance is well known. I need not to dwell upon that. Now, with the tourism like Char Dham, many other places, with the opening of highways, it will give a lot of improvements. Economic growth is, of course, is known. Now, sustainable infrastructure. The infrastructure should be such, it should not damage the local ecosystem. It has to be resilient. So these first two things are missing in our right now. So I think we have to incorporate with the teamwork. Now we have to include the communities also. Without communities, we cannot progress further. Plus, right now we have got very short-term planning. 2 साल में ये कर लेंगे, 3 साल में कर लेंगे. We have to have a long-term planning in a systematic way. Actually, we have got a great experience. Now we have to inject a lot of science and technology. Now we have got a lot of big and great institutions like IITs, NITs. I think we have to have a proper communication and their involvement in that. Now what are the current issues? Current status? Firstly, we should introspect how our construction is going on, what are the shortcomings, and what we should plan. So I think we are not able to spend the required time. There is always time bound. Let's finish this road in 2 years, 3 years. So I think we have to plan it properly. Future plan we should plan in right now. We should try to share the best practices. Like Himachal PWD has got some best practices, border road exams practice. So we must have a mechanism where we can share and help each other. Technological innovations like cut and cover structure, when I proposed in way back in 2007-8, that time it was something unusual. But once we made it, it has been proved. So we have to have a technological innovations. Now today also in the first session we have seen, so we have to go for that. Now, environmental mitigation is well known, I did not to dwell upon. Now, most important is stakeholder engagements. Who are the stakeholders? Government of India as a client or as a funding agency, then DPR consultant, then contractors, local population and other agencies. So firstly, we have to engage all these people in a very constructive way. And if there is a gap in these, I'm going to cover in next slides. Now, policy regulation is one of the most important. Right now, our maximum problems in hill area is because of policy regulations. जिसका जहाँ मर्जी आएगा रोड बना लेगा विलेज के अंदर. Like Joshimath is one of the example. Now, a lot of hotels have come up. There is no drainage. So I think we have to have very strict policy regulations. Capacity building. Now, right now, our fund has increased manifold, but the availability of manpower, their training, and I think rather than going in generalized training, we have to have a trained people. Like when I started as a commander in 2002, 2004, I'll share my experience. We were given the responsibility of 4-laning work, 15-kilometer stretch. I did not require, so what I did, I made a small teams. JE's ka, he will do only earthwork, he will do GSB, WMM, and give him 10-page notes. You should only concentrate and he should work on that. So I think we, rather than training a generalized, we have to specialize some of the supervisors and skilled tradesmen. So it is not only with the government. Same way when we go to the site inspections, we find even consultants don't have the required manpower. even contractors. So I think time has come to work together and improve that. Now, these policy initiatives, I think we have to prioritize eco-sensitive areas, cutting, like if you are cutting more than 20, 25 meter, 30 meter in a hill roads, let us examine it, whether the slope is capable to take that much cutting or not. By simply plotting with the AutoCAD some drawing, plan profile and cross sections. So firstly, whatever DPR, at least as a chief engineer, as ADG, I used to see whatever, is it implementable or not. Simply giving a drawing is not sufficient. Then use appropriate technology. That is very important. Afforestation is one of the areas now. Now tunnels, of course, like Rohtang Tunnel. When I was task force commander in 2000, that time Honorable Prime Minister Vajpayee asked, is it an important tunnel? Rohtang, I said it's vital. That time tunneling was not there. So on the helipad itself, he has agreed, and so now Border Road is also going for a number of tunnels, and NHEA is also going for tunnels. Another most important aspect, land use pattern. The maximum problem in hill road come because of land use problems. Means like the moment some urbanization comes, the natural drainage is altered. Zoom cultivation leads the saturation of slope. And right now we don't have any control over land use. And maximum problem we are facing because of land use. So I think we have to have a very proper discussion and framework to optimize this land use. Drainage and protective measures is very important. I didn't want to tell. Any hill road will not work without this. So most of time we try to ignore this thing and we end up paying price. Now, what I discussed, now we have lot many organizations working in hill roads. People from south, we can't blame them because hill road has been opened, earlier it was border roads and street PWDs. So even the contractor, they don't have the required manpower. Consultant, they don't have manpower. Rather than blaming each other, we must try to bridge the gap. We must run some crash courses. Rather than having generalized thing, we should train the people in the particular item. Like somebody in a hill slope management, somebody is in earth cutting. So I think that time has come. Now, most important, planning and design. We spend less time on planning and design, and we end up paying a lot of heavy price for that. So planning has to be proper, particularly in the bridges where the approach road, most of time the cutting is not properly, then it becomes a landslide area. At the same time, new material solutions have to be found out. Landslide is one of the most challenging problem nowadays because of the extreme climate, cloud burst, etc. So we have to follow technological upgradation we have to do. Quality control is one of the most important, which is missing right now in our ecosystem. So somehow we have to inculcate, we have to force it. We issue the circular, but we are not able to implement. So we have to have a mechanism to implement these things. Now, what is the way forward? At national level, policy formulation of the important issues, land use pattern, multidisciplinary. Hill road construction is not only civil engineer, it's a geologist, geotechnical, landslide management, forest, hydrologist. So unless we have a proper team, right now, like Border Road also, as a ground executive, we have been executed all the role. So I think we have to now have a multidisciplinary teams. Now another important thing, there is no dearth of knowledge and manpower with us, but we are working in our each compartment. IIT is working in a compartment, NIT, government organization, even within the ministry we have a different department. So I think we have to have some institutional framework where we all can come together, particularly hill roads. And then only I think we can do justice for that work. Now techno-legal clearances during construction and hill roads, mid-course review and correction is required. Because at DPR stage, you can't estimate how much is retaining wall will come because that time it is a barren slope. So most of the thing will be only known once you go half the way. So rather than simply saying what has been mentioned in the contract has to do, we have to have midterm, and if you feel the executive can misuse it, you can have an independent body to consider the midterm review, what are the corrections. Rather than making a bad road, let's have a mid-course corrections. Government policies are required. So firstly, we have to bridge the gap. We should have proper communication, teamwork among ourselves. Already I have discussed. So landslide and erosion, though some of my colleagues are going to speak on this, slope stabilization is very important. And landslides are the outcome of the improper construction and improper drainage. So we have to do specialized infrastructure, impact of road design, construction maintenance. Basically now we got going for 4-lane. In some of the roads, even at northeast I told Dimapur Road, because some of the stretches may not be able to take the 4-lane. So there either we should restrict the width or we should have a 2 alignment either side of the river. So first we have to see whether the terrain is fit, because आप terrain को बदली नहीं कर सकते हो, अपने आप road को बदली कर सकते हो. You can have your own design. But the moment we cut the 70 meter, 80 meter, at one places when I send how much, sir, 80 meter is cutting. After 80 meter, how the road is going to stay? So we have to review that. There we should go for a tunnel or cut and cover. Like same way, we have box cutters 60 meter, 70 meter. These are the risky. So road formation width to be decided based on geology, stability of hill slope, which is I think need of our and all the DPR consultants to consider. Now we have to integrate the landslides during the construction itself. Major projects we must see the DPR preparation is very important. Time bound between the landslide investigation, so I think we have to ensure a lot of regular crash program for senior professional development. I think the knowledge has to be injected at senior level also. Crash programs only relevant rather than general. Insist on geotechnical investigations on the landslides, important landslides. So I think these are the various issues and community-centric warning. There must be some system. Let me share my example. When I was chief nurse Swastik in Sikkim, I had given a presentation to even chief secretary, even army had given Leno Glacier may come anytime. That is time of 2016-17. And 2023, this Leno Glacier comes, and with that time we cannot stop it. At least if we put the early warning system, at least we can save the lives. Same thing happened in 2023. We lost few hundred people. Losing a property is not a big issue, but the moment we lose the life. So even after the warning, people don't follow. So I think we have to have a sensitive thing on that. So I have just prepared a matrix. Now, pre-construction stage, existing road survey mapping is important. The formulation of DPR is by manual codal provision and the local geology. Now here we have to have a multidisciplinary team where the geotech engineer, geologist, hydrologist, so all people are there. With the DPR consultant, somebody will come as a team leader, he doesn't know everything and the DPR will be prepared. So I am not trying to blame, I am just trying to how we can improve upon. Now techno-legal mandatory clearances, though these clearances are required, so we do that. Then shifting of utilities is another issue. During constructions, it is very important stage where geometrics as per the terrain and slope stability. If we see road width is given much point we can't achieve, then we have to correct it. Drainage issue we have to see, proper plan execution and plant sites. These are very important aspects. Traffic management during the hill road construction is a very challenging thing. So we have to plan it very properly. Now another thing which I think we have to add is mid-course corrective action in road. Any shortcoming in the execution of DPR provision need to be reviewed and corrective actions. The proper supervision, review, quality control. Quality control and supervision is very important, which we are missing right now. Technical and financial review at 30, 60 and 80% with the proper team. So these are the important aspects we must see. Understand slope stabilization. So I think one of my colleagues is going to cover this also. All human settlement infrastructure is on. So we know because some of the settlements are just on the hill slope and which is in danger, they should be relocated. Perpetual trouble spots should be identified, like cut and cover and many other issues. What are the solutions? There are many technologies which we can make use of this. Integrate the landslide reduction with the development of planning, because I have done my doctorate in landslide. So landslide, I think we have to deal it in a very detailed. Now another challenge is hill road mein this urbanization is going to be a big issue. Firstly, it is now affecting ecology, drainage. So we have to have plan proper thing on this. Extreme weather events. This cloud burst is very common nowadays. So we have to plan keeping all these factors. In fact, after my retirement in 2017, I suggested to establish National Center for Landslide Management. Even I made the concept about 2018-19. I don't know, we are in 2025, whether it has come up or not. So I think that is, we need it at national level, because each state, BRO, NHEA, DCL, we deal in a different compartment. So if there is one center where we can take all the issues, NHEA, DCL can go, BRO can go. So I think we need that sort of thing. Focus coordination, this holistic attention on the landslide mitigations and management. So need to be reviewed. Systematic approach is required. Green road concept is required. Lot of efforts and money, skilled manpower is needed. Right now, there is a lot of gap between the requirement. Detailed engineering, close supervision, quality assurance, these are the issues. And most important is in the institutional arrangement to share the talent, knowledge and experience. Rather than keeping in one compartment, we must try to share the exchange and help each other. Another I would like to share, I have faced 2-3, like 2000 Satluj disaster, where the complete road got damaged, few hundred people died. So what are most of the road, like even if you go NS10 now, from Sevak Road to Gangtok, whatever roads are going along the river are the most dangerous. So we try to avoid, and we should be on the roads. Now I'll just go through the photographs of what it can do. This is cloudburst and Kedarnath. And when this happened, in fact, next day in Chief Swastik, I called my officers. These are the two Gulf events are there. So people did not believe at national level. After 3 months, people came to know. So one was there are 2 legs got busted, and that led the thing, which I have covered in my PhD also, one of these things. You can see before and after. Up to 200-ton boulder can come with the glove, glacial lake blood outflow. And these are the damages after the Kedarnath disaster. You can see what it was and what happened after that. So hill roads is very challenging, and we have to plan properly. This is one of the things which I faced in 2000 Satlujwala. The source was there. This was the source from where this flood came. Finally, we came after a few years. And what was the condition of the road? Road got totally damaged, and which we, as a SE, I used to walk 20 kilometers daily on the 6 months for this road. You can see this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Parwal sir. With so much wide experience you have set the agenda for this session. You have completed entire aspect of this hill road, from the alignment finalization to hill cutting problems and other challenges. Now I request Sri SP Pradhan Sahab to give a presentation.
Good afternoon all. So I will be talking on slow failure along highways, and I know it's very difficult to listen to someone after lunch, right? And highway development, particularly in hilly terrain, is really a challenging task, right? If you see the landslide susceptibility map, the entire Himalayan, then the Western Ghat, that is our west coast, and the Eastern Ghat, they are susceptible to landslides. And while you are making any road, you are dealing with all these landslides. So once you come to this, particularly Himalayan terrain, because Himalayan terrain is very difficult from the other terrain, where we'll get many surprises, geological surprises, and maybe your investigation is not adequate. So we need to deal that. And as my previous speaker told, that the mid-term correction is needed whenever you are making any DPR, right? Might be your plan for, you are not expecting any slope to be unstable, but it becomes unstable when you are doing your construction activities. So this is Himalaya, and we know that it created when Indian plate slide into the China, Eurasian plate. And there are many fractures and fold and shear that got developed. So this particularly, because of this, the rock mass is highly crushed, fractured, And in this fractured terrain, making a stable slope is really, really challenging task. If you see, particularly in hilly region, the failure can be, okay, you are doing any excavation that might be on the offside. I will put the ledgers. So one type of failure could be cut slope failure. Another one might be the field slope that may fail. Another one is the entire mass failure above the road. And this one is a very big slide, starting from both from bottom to the top. Okay. And one is, this is type 4 failure, which is below the road. Right. So this type of landslides or slope instability that we may encounter. So how generally we what should be our approach to deal with this failure type? Either we avoid it, or we have to accept it, or we do surgical or remove it, or stabilize it or protect it. Right? These are the different type of tools. Suppose you accept it means, okay, there is instability, but okay, that can be cleared within few minutes, small blocks that will fall, we accept with that one. We can avoid it, okay, you have a huge block sitting above the slope, you remove it, that is the thing that we can take. When we cannot accept, we cannot avoid or remove, then protection measures has to be put into. And there are many protection measures. Particularly during the slope stabilization, either we reduce the driving forces, because when the driving forces becomes more than your resistive forces that resist your motion, then slide become very prominent. So either you reduce the driving forces or increase the resisting forces that will stabilize the slope. And there are many methods to do that. So I am not going very detailed into that. So when we are understanding any type of failure, this is particularly in Rishikesh section, if you see this mass, it appears to be okay, debris. And while you investigated, okay, there is a tension crack at the ground. And you see, after this rainy season, the entire mass that slid down onto the highway, and you could see this is not only the debris failure, this is also the rock mass that slid down. That means while you are observing from the side, you could interpret, okay, there might be no rock involved here, but it actually a rock involved here. Above here, there is debris. So this type of complexity that may arise. And how our interpretation may go wrong depending upon our design. I won't say it's wrong. It depends upon our planning, right? And it's not always right that, okay, suppose I will give an example of this one. We have a bedrock, and I need to see what is the depth of the bedrock, right? And in Himalayan terrain particularly, we have debris, big boulders are there, and below that we may get bedrock. Suppose you plan, let me see at what depth my bedrock is there, and you drilled a borehole, and it encountered like this, right? It encountered like this. You get a big boulder, and we may assume that, okay, it might be bedrock. If the position will be like this, we may get a good result. Your interpretation will be good. So if I assume this to be bedrock, my mitigation strategy or the amount of material that will be required will be different. Similarly, we go for many geophysical investigation to know where is the bedrock and the characteristic of the bedrock. So this is an example of ERT study, electrical resistivity tomography. Right? So higher the resistivity value, it gives a rock is a good rock is there. Okay, if these blue are their water charge body. Right? So here I can see, okay, this, if you see this one, these are two patches where I am expecting there should be rock, right? So my interpretation could be, these are two different boulders which are situated, or might be the entire thing from this to this is bedrock. So if in this category, once I do the geophysical study, I found, okay, in this part there is uncertainty. If it is continuous, it could have more, you will get more resistivity value, and
Thank you, SP Pradhan sir, firstly for limiting yourself within time. And you have, for hill region, understanding geology is very important. And you have covered that adequately. Apart from this investigation, some direct and indirect method is also required. And I am thankful that you have covered basics of that point. And after that, I request Ashish ji to give his presentation.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. So, whenever we talk about hill roads, it naturally comes out, most of us are talking about the slope stabilizations or tunnels, and the highway or the other parts of it get missed out. And that is true as well, because the cost increase of the same, if you take a highway on the plain land versus same number of lanes on a hilly terrain, the cost increases by 10 to 15 times. And this entire cost is due to managing the terrain, basically either the cut slope or the fill slope, and managing it. So it is important to optimize as much as we can, because this, see, we are talking about 90% increase and have to be managed well. Now, what kind of slopes we are dealing with? Hillside slopes, where you need to cut if you want to widen. The other option is to go on the valley side. So then again you need to widen, but the difference between the two is one is a cut slope, one could be a fill slope, right? So the treatment would be entirely different. One thing which we usually do not talk but has a major impact on Hilly Road, particularly where the water flow is very high, is natural streams or drains crossing the highways and going down. And they bring a lot of debris and eventually lead to even landslides. So debris flow also to be kept in mind. So I'll just show the features on the hillsides. It looks like this when it slides down, right? And there are rocks as well as soil slopes or a soil boulder matrix, very difficult to treat. Then there are valley side issues, so valley side failures, and whenever you talk about valley, most of the time you are dealing with a river at the end of the, at the toe of the valley. So you are dealing with a lot of hydrology and slope stability issue. Sometimes it's very high, so you don't know where to start with. And whenever the river is meandering and touching the highway side, then that's the most vulnerable point we have observed and need treatment right from the toe up. Then comes the debris flow, which flows down from the hills. And if these are not regulated, and most of the time you cannot or you do not, the choice is ours, but simple options like cash dams can treat or work better in these scenarios. This is one of the projects we built in Bhutan, and the debris flow was so huge that it used to fill this entire bridge. The entire bridge becomes redundant or inoperable. So debris flow instances are very high, particularly upper Himalayas, and need to be treated well. Sometimes I have seen very good innovative solutions where in countries like Nepal or Bhutan, they just simply have accepted that this is going to happen. And instead of making culverts or anything, they just make a depressed slope and very thick concrete pavement. So whenever the debris flow comes, they just shove it down the valley side. And so the optimization point of view, they have accepted that if you want to treat it or build some huge structure across it, it's not worth it. So now let's see what all we can do. There are steps. I have just listed these steps. This forum is mostly for discussion, so I did not include what all solutions we are talking about. But surveys and investigations are very important. And as Pradhanji already pointed out, boreholes and geophysical method. One of the things, in fact, I emphasize that reconnaissance, the eye observation, nothing can beat that in terms of investigation. Go there and see the eye observations, note it down, and that's the biggest asset you will have. Talk to the local people, and that investigation to me is the most important investigation part whenever we are dealing with hill roads. Topographical survey, particularly I'm a fan of drone, and again for the same reason as number one, observation, because drone gives you a vantage point from where you can see a much more detailed aspect of any slope or landslide. Then comes geological mapping, noting down the details. There are faults or orientations of rock and so on. Geophysical surveys, ERT, SRT, MASW, and then geotechnical surveys, boring and in situ. And if you see that I've kept the geotechnical surveys as the last. Though this entire design will be based on geotechnical survey, we will do it last because the earlier surveys would give you an idea where to drill the borehole. It's not that you just take a 500 meter center to center or some X meter center to center and start drilling boreholes. So the observations, the geophysical surveys, the geological mapping actually would give you, so you can optimize the cost of investigation. Cost of boreholes in hilly areas is very high. We are talking about 10 to 15,000 per running meter, as against in plain land, it comes down to around 1,500 rupees per running meter borehole drilling. So one of the way to optimize is to have indirect methods as well. Then integrating all these results into plotting the strata, know the properties of the strata, and then you come to analysis, whether it's rockfall or landslide. Then if it's rockfall, the stereo nets, you come to know what type of failure we are dealing with, whether it's a wedge failure, planar failure, toppling checks, slide analysis, so that you know this. This can be used even for highly weathered rock or completely weathered rock, the slide analysis, or the soil slopes. Then you come down to mitigation major designs, drawings, detailing, specifications, and construction. And the last but certainly not the least, that monitoring and maintenance are very much part of any hill issue. So rather than slope treatment, we have to probably coin a term or work on a term called slope management, because it's not that once you treat and go away, everything is done. So you need to have a monitoring and maintenance plan for slopes. I've just listed out that from my point of view, what is must and what can be a selective or subjective thing. So reconnaissance is must. Drone survey is must in case of landslides, debris flow and all. In rockfall, depends on the situation. Geological mapping is a must when it comes down to rockfall or debris flow. For landslide, subjective. Geophysical survey, I have kept all the way subjective because geophysical survey will give you only qualitative analysis, but very important. So it has to be done, but you can choose how you do it and which survey you do it. Whether you need an SRT or MASW or ERT, that also has to be depending upon your observations. But it's a very good tool where you get volumetric assessment. That's the only tool where you get volumetric assessment. Rest all, either a point assessment or line assessment of any strata. The geophysical gives a volumetric assessment. And you do need hydrological data, definitely, of the area, whether we are talking about the catchwater drain to be designed at the top of the hill, or you want to see what's going on down the hill, what kind of velocities, whether they are eroding the banks, and so on. There are various ways of monitoring any slope. So just a list, this picked up from US Geological Survey handbook. But you can have a tilt meter, crack meter, piezo meters, or even rain gauges, right? Settlement gauges and all. Monitoring is important. I'll just give probably more details in a list. There are also satellite imageries on the basis of which you can do it, right? But I would put its use in different way. For a greenfield project, alignment selection can be done after you have a good INSAR data for 12, 15 years. That's a very good tool. But widening, you have already cut a slope. At that point of time, using INSAR has no value because it will show that it's moving. You have cut it. So post mitigation, however, again, the INSAR can be very good because then you can monitor for long term that the way you have designed, whether the structure is performing the same way or not. So that's a very good tool. Piezometer, groundwater fluctuation data you can collect if it is a greenfield project. In widening, if your design assumptions have put some value of water level, you want to check whether those water levels are there or rising up to that or below that, and you can work on, and so on. Crack meter, extensometer, geodetic monitoring is mostly for widening, but mostly these are for rocks, geodetic monitoring, because on a soil, pointing out which area you want to monitor is difficult, and so on. Inclinometer is good for soil, particularly clay soil, and rain gauges for all situations, good to generate the data and link the slope instability event with the amount of rain which has fallen. There are already correlations about it. So instrumentation is a good data, but over instrument, if you have a lot of data, there is also lot of confusion. Who is monitoring that data? If you are putting an alert alarm system, there are a lot of false alarms sometimes, and then you get used to it, and indifference comes in that, okay, another wrong, or the call is not needed, and so on. There are ways you can actually quantify the extent, you can rate any slope, whether it's very severe or manageable or low level. There are two important aspects. One is the risk or the probability of failure of a slope. Second is its impact. And a combination is what you need. A slope is, is bound to fail, but it's not going to impact, then you don't bother. And even a small failure which can impact in a big way, then you want to be bothered about it. So there are various rating systems for landslides as well as for rockfall, and we have implemented and used it in one of the NHEA projects. So this is for rockfall. I'm just giving a glimpse of it, but eventually you convert it into a matrix, right? So what's your frequency of fall or probability of fall on the x-axis? The y-axis is how dangerous it could be. So if you have a village downhill or say electric tower uphill, then even a small failure which can impact that, then it is catastrophic, so you need to deal with it. But if nothing is there, a small village road, if a small fall happens, nothing is going to happen, then it's on the minor category. And the reason we can evolve it, we can, while this is evolved, but we are not using it, because there are a couple of ways of using it. The red sign, what you're seeing is high risk, high hazard. Maybe those are the one you need to attend first. Then comes to the yellow one, which is mid risk or mid hazard. And then comes blue. You can even make a choice that much risk, the one shown with blue, is acceptable, and I'm not going to do anything about it. The red I must do, and the yellow, maybe I'll put some monitoring mechanism and then take it up as I have more data and if it becomes more vulnerable. So these are the ways where you do not go and treat the entire highway and every slope along it. You may make a choice and use some risk acceptance criteria. Now, just lead to some questions which can lead to optimization and design in hilly area. Right? What should be the extent of investigation? Right? So then depends whether you are doing alignment survey or feasibility or a DPR or EPC tender, and then you can pick and choose. And if you have data available right from the alignment survey onwards, it's a accumulation of data, and you should read everything, put it together by the time you are going for construction, right? So how much safe we should design, as I was talking about risk acceptance, right? Whenever we are trying to design, the design methods, the analytical methods, and probably the professors would agree, we have Mono-no Bokabe, pseudo-static method for slope stability. It is so conservative, and particularly hills with slope, if you try to put seismic factor into it, you will never get to a factor of safety 1 also. Then how much are you going to do? We are getting anchors and all for 50-meter long, and odd, the cost is increasing heavily. So should we just accept static design? It's just a question. I'm not the decision maker, but I'll pose this question, and together we can probably answer. Limited seismic factors. So instead of every couple of years I see the seismic coefficients are increasing. Right? The hills are same, the earthquakes are same, but the coefficients are increasing. So how much we want to deal with, and do we want to deal with together along with a water event or not? Consideration based on risk hazard rating, whether we can put that, say, factor of safety of 1.5 for most hazardous, and maybe 1.15 or 1.2 for low hazard. So this is also one way of achieving economy in. So these are some questions. What's the best model for construction? right? Because there will be variability. When you go for any slope treatment or something, it's not that what you design or what you have estimated, the same will be the execution cost. It is going to vary. The geology, even whatever extent of investigation you do, there will be variations. So whether the traditional method of unit rate construction is good, or EPC with performance parameters and long term. And a couple of BRO projects I have seen that they do it departmentally, right? So is that an option? And last, when we talk about liabilities, particularly for expert consultant in DPR of hill road or cut slope stabilization, the no liability, that means ignoring design and inferior work for construction. But if you want to take, there was a term used when last we were working on a project, permanent solution for slope stabilization, right? And there is nothing permanent. The hills are not permanent. We are not permanent. And you want a permanent solutions, the consultant would be very conservative, very bothered. Can we term it long term rather than permanent? That could be one option. Limited time liability, then you'll have to work upon mitigation cost versus maintenance cost. So a lot of contractors do choose, even if they have the 10 years liability, they said, okay, let the, if anything happens, I will just clear it. That cost is much less than making a treatment. And just to give a rule of thumb, actually in slope stability, cost estimate is very difficult, very, very difficult, small or big. But just a ballpark figure, if you want to treat a 20 to 25 meter high cut slope, right, the cost would be probably equivalent to making a tunnel inside. So anything 25 meter or beyond, I think it will be advisable to go for a tunnel rather than a cut slope. Right? So those are my points, and thank you everyone.
Thank you, Ashish Gharpure ji, for making such a interesting presentation. You have covered additional points of slope stabilization, and this panel is giving more importance to slope stabilization. Means hill road is synonymous with hill slopes, either failure or its mitigations. Ashish ji also touched upon this drainage problem, and I have requested him to give his thoughts on the cost optimization also. And I am thankful that he has covered that also. Cost optimizations, he has suggested that factor of safety for seismic conditions. We can think of whether for seismic conditions such a high factor of safety is required or not. I think it will be taken care appropriately, and we have to do this cost optimization. Then another aspect he has covered that is very important is monitoring and instrumentation. One point I want to emphasize also for alignment studies. The satellite imagery having INSAR inputs is very important, and it is not being used, but probably in Ramban Banihal that pilot project has been done to check this, whether this INSAR imagery can predict this landslide or slip movement, etc. I think that is to some extent successfully past data has been found correct. So now it is high time that we should for alignment approval also, or while considering this alignment, we should take input from INSAR imagery also. Apart from that, instrumentation that has been maybe means in future hazard assessment and advanced warning system, instrumentation will play very widely. And with this, I request Shwetab ji to give his presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. So thank you for the dais.
and I would like to start my presentation. As all the respected speakers here, they have discussed very specific aspects and important aspects of the highway development in hilly areas. I would be touching upon the topic of road tunnels in the hilly areas. Before I move forward, I would like to bring out this fact that this presentation, that the discussion that we are making here is very specific in context of the Himalayan geology. So when I say highway development in hilly areas for road tunnels, this is very specific to the Himalayan geology. So the whole presentation has been divided into two parts. The first part of the presentation or the discussion would deal with the methods and the processes that have been adopted till now for last 2 decades in India in the Himalayan context for developing some of the wonderful projects of the world in terms of tunneling. And the second aspect of the presentation would deal with what lies in the future and where do we go from here. So I would like to start from the road tunnels in Himalayan conditions in the Indian context. So largely most of the tunnel projects that are being done right now, of course, while we all agree to this fact that the tunnels are conduits for development in this country. So these are the broadly 10 filters through which all the tunnel projects in this country they go through. Which starts from the planning consideration for tunnels, the tunnel geometrics, the geological reference modeling, the geotechnical evaluation and parameters, ground characterization, that is the response prediction, excavation method, temporary support, support finalization, instrumentation, monitoring, and then the electromechanical installations, which includes the ventilation, firefighting, lighting, power supply, drainage systems, TMS systems, and operation maintenance obligations. Point 3 to point number 8, as you can see, largely is covered under the context of the NATM tunneling method. And as we proceed further, I'll just like to introduce this fact here, that this is not a unidirectional approach, but there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of back propagation and feed forward mechanism that is involved nowadays while the NATM method of tunneling is implemented till the time the final supports are installed and even henceforth while the monitoring continues. So while we have been dealing with a lot of DPR projects which can be considered as the planning phase development in this country, so majorly within the Indian context, these are the major parameters upon which the planning of the tunnels or specifically the road tunnels have been based upon to best of our knowledge in last 2 decades. Primarily enhancing connectivity in remote areas, of course, the route shortening and all-weather options, creating all-weather options, promotion of tourism, military requirements, avoiding sliding zones or the distressed zones, developing bypasses to old cities which are highly congested and it's very difficult to find space for developing new highways in those regions. Then avoiding greenfield alignments to avoid deforestation, disaster mitigation plans, reaching out to the remote areas which are susceptible to events like GLOF and landslides. And then multi-utility and multimodal outlook, which is a very futuristic outlook, but certainly it is coming up. And then the whole idea of the tunnel geometrics. When I say tunnel geometrics, we are largely talking about the alignment of the tunnels. So the major aspects of the alignment or the geometry in a tunnel would include the cross sections, the longitudinal slopes, and the length of the tunnel. So majorly these 3 aspects would constitute the geometrics of the tunnel. So this all can be divided majorly into five filters. One is the functional requirement, from where we get the lane configuration, which actually directly influences the cross-section adoption. The operational requirement, which directly deals with the traffic envelope, the service corridors, escape routes, and regional connectivity options. that also directly feeds into the cross-section requirement and the approach roads planning. Then the traffic characterization and volume assessment, which certainly is an input for the socio-economic dividends. And of course, that also feeds into the cross-section requirements. And then the very important factor is the geological factors, decision of drive against the dip or along the dip of bedding across the shear zones or along the shear zone activity state of the fault zones, etc. So this generally determines the length of the tunnel excavation method and construction sequences, and largely the shape of the tunnel, which generally what we see in the NHEA method is either D shape or it is the modified horseshoe shape these days. Then economic and constructability and safety consideration. So that is where the length of the tunnel and the approach roads actually come into picture. And while we go through all these 5 filters, the 3 main aspects that includes the cross section, the length, and the gradients or the the geometry is finalized. Now, all the aspects that would fall within the NHEA method in the Himalayan context can be put into 3 layers. The first layer would certainly be the geological challenges, which is dealt at large in the feasibility and the DPR stages. And if you look at the sub-layers, this would include the study at the tectonic settings, the drainage, surface and the subsurface drainages, the lithology and the stratigraphy, the seismic risks, and the weather patterns, the erratic weather patterns to which the Himalayan complex is subject to. The second layer largely would consist of investigating and finding out the geotechnical parameters and predicting the ground behavior to finalize upon the, or to analyze the excavation methods and support requirement. So this would largely be overlapping in the feasibility DPR stages and pre-construction stages. And the third layer, where the confirmation of all this data is done while the construction is started or the execution has started, is the excavation and support with instrumentation monitoring and KPIs, that is the key performance indicators, and again the back analysis, going back and forth to actually optimize the designs. So largely these are the tenets of NATM tunneling, which has been used extensively in the Himalayan context, and they have been indigenized. So the outcomes that we are talking about at this stages, some of, as I said earlier in the presentation, some of the wonderful projects have been accomplished in this country. And this has been accomplished through indigenization of the processes of geological mapping, data acquisition, and local engineering in defining the ground types and the support types. So some of the examples are Atal Tunnel, Chenani Nashi, that is SP Mukherjee Tunnel, Kazigund Bani Hal Tunnel, Zedmore Tunnel, and Sela Tunnel. So the testimony to successful indigenization has been in evolving the methodology for data acquisition. So we talk about the digital terrain models, etc., which have evolved over a period of time. Then the geological mapping processes, which have developed in consonance with the geophysical and geotechnical investigation and their proper overlaps. Then the ground behavior type and engineering simulations, which have actually gone ahead with the enhanced power of the processors and the machines that we are using these days. And of course, this is going to increase in next 2 to 3 years domain with the advent of a lot of machine learning and large data science research. Then fit-to-purpose construction method and support developments. So this is something which has been indigenized and has been done in the local conditions, that is in the national conditions for the Himalayan terrain. Now, I come to the second part of my presentation, which is for the frontiers to be explored in the Himalayan tunneling through the Indian context. So this has been divided into majorly 4 parts. At the planning stages, the feasibility and the DPR stages, the engineering stages, that is the pre and the post-construction stage, and the construction stages. A more deeper consideration during planning stages for environmental and social impact is required.
Not that it's not happening at this moment, but probably the contours of sustainability considerations and engagement of the community in the decision-making process has to be enhanced. Because we are facing, I mean, a lot of projects, they face, now they have started facing the challenges of sustainability or the color of the sustainability, because it is now that we have realized after 2 decades that a lot of these tunnel projects for which a lot of muck is being generated, somehow they have posed threat to the biodiversity of the region, to the local habitats in those regions for the flora and fauna. Community engagement does happen through the public consultation processes, but the public consultation processes needs to be initiated at a very early stages rather than finalizing most of the details and then going to the public and then again going back to the board once such proposals they find themselves in jeopardy. Then integration with transportation networks in the planning stages. A lot of efforts are being made these days, and of course this continues as an effort to integrate the highway tunnels, the rail tunnels, and maybe the utility tunnels into one envelope. So this is what the multimodal planning and enhancing accessibility and mobility within the same corridor has to be achieved in the planning stages in the future. Then, of course, the investment towards the investigation, which is overlapping investigation from geophysical and geotechnical point of view, has to be evolved and has to be evolved in context of the Himalayan geology, where the zones of instability have already been identified across the Himalayan belts. And a national framework needs to be developed for acquiring this data and integrating it with the modern design and engineering techniques to optimize the results at the planning stages itself. So as I was mentioning, so this is a summary of innovations in tunnel engineering for which a national protocol or maybe an international protocol needs to be formalized for the tunneling to progress into the next era of technological structures, which is smart tunnel technologies, which deals a lot with the real-time data acquisition, then sustainable practices and materials, simulation, modeling, and real-time BIM implementation. This is something which is the need of the hour. Then data-driven decision-making, for which, as I was saying, a national data repository needs to be developed. Then national safety and testing protocols for firefighting and ventilation systems. This is, of course, the need of the hour now. Then indigenous TBM technology development and domestically built electromechanical and control systems. So this is where a lot of indigenization would happen now, given that the semiconductors have become a very serious business in this country, or going to become a very serious business. Then, of course, there have been events in the past in this country, in some of the tunnels, which have exposed some of our vulnerabilities towards risk mitigations and emergency preparedness. So safety measures during construction needs to be looked into more through a more wider lens. In conclusion, I would like to say that, of course, some of the most successful tunnels in the challenging conditions have been accomplished in this country through the process of indigenization. And of course, the collaborative efforts within the sequential excavation method domain has found success in this country, which has been actually imported from the European context. As I said, the road tunnels will continue to be the conduits of development and tools for socio-economic engineering within the Himalayan context. A national collaborative framework is required for data sharing, research purpose, simulation modeling, and indigenization efforts towards TBM technology and instrumentation monitoring. A wider global connect in knowledge sharing within the global North and South nation is required at this stage. Thank you.
Am I Thank you, Shatab ji, for giving us detail regarding the tunnel. Earlier, tunnel was a taboo subject nowadays, but the same is not nowadays. Tunnel are being constructed in big way in hilly roads, and we are thankful that he has thrown light on some aspects of it. He has also, I want to emphasize that he has shared, data driven means it is a empirical, tunnel designing is empirical, so data sharing is very important. So some repository has to be created for, this is relevant in slope stabilization also and for tunneling also. So we have to give a serious thought on data sharing and making it available in public platform somewhere, so that it is easily available even to researchers, academicians and practitioners also, so that indigenously we improve our design and come out with cost effective solutions. With this, I thank all panelists to conclude this. Few questions we will take, though times are limited. Yeah, please. First this. Mike, please.
Actually, I have worked in plain as well as hilly regions. So what I have felt that in the contract agreement, whether it is EPC or the this HAM model, they are heavily inclined towards, means the provisions are mostly related to plain area. And the geological surprises that we encounter during construction are not duly covered. We have recently attempted a tunnel matrix variation GBR base, but the other things are still missing. For example, in slope protection or either or the retaining structures, if something is there, then the contractor should be duly covered so that his payments are released. So our bid document may be either separated, especially for the hilly area, or certain provisions may be incorporated so that if there are geological surprises, then that can be covered in the form of either a BOQ based model. So that is my suggestion.
Yeah, your suggestion, and you have only to implement it. Panelist has little to do it. Some question was from that. Yeah, it is audible.
It's audible.
Yeah.
So I'm Shaumendra Banerjee. I am representing my firm Terre Arme. My question is to Porwal, sir. Sir, you have worked extensively in the mountains, and you spoke about alignment, sir. Here I would like to ask you one question. Greenfield cutting or a brownfield cutting? We are always emphasizing towards cutting on the hillside. Now here is a case in point where we have structures like reinforced shored wall construction, which is already there in the IRC SP 48 2023. Should DPR, like Genstru consultants here, should also be looking into this, that we have a provision, we have technology to take our alignment towards the valley side and have structures accordingly. Another point to, in the same, to Mr. Ashish, again as a consultant here, IRC SP 48 2023 has brought out a number of mitigation measures for the landslide. So when the DPR has been there, I think we are in in that particular, with that document, we are there to give that into our tender provisionings also. Thank you.
To your first question, basically, alignment is the most important and vital in hill road. any mistake in that, we pay throughout the life during construction and maintenance as well. So the best way with my experience is a balance cut and fill, like JICA. You see their DPRs are very meticulous. Generally, they are cut and fill in such a balance that you need not to dispose of the earth also. So either going in full cutting is also not wiser, or going into full filling is not a wiser. So we have to strike a balance, and that will depend on the geology, terrain and site and place to place. So hill road, that is the most important thing. Whatever true in X place is not true in Y, it is site specific. So we have to take a decision based on the site requirement, ground requirement, and it has to be through a thorough examination. So this is very important, and cut and fill, we should go for balanced cut and fill approach is the best approach as far as my personal view is concerned.
Yeah, a very short answer to your question. Valley side widening, we do it. Right, so
There are apprehensions. People, yet that mindset has not been prepared because there was a lack of information, lack of confidence. I'll not say information technology, everything is there. Confidence.
Right.
That we have structures, it can be done, it has been done. That's the point.
Right, right. So since the question was whether Gens2 does it, yes, we do it. And in fact, as back as 2000, year 2000, we have done it for Bombay-Pune Expressway, where the widening was done on the hill, valley side as well as hillside. So yes, the point I'm taking, and in fact, if you want me to decimate this point, yes, it's very much possible to widen on valley side, subject to a lot of local considerations. How deep is the valley, what type of soil, and so on. Usually hillside, you will get the rock, and hence an easy way that, okay, it's more stable, so widen that side. But the best way could be to balance the cut and fill as well. So there are various aspects, but it's so localized answer, you know, very site-specific answer, that, but it can be done either side, and which is where I have taken in my presentation that valley side widening is very much possible. Yes, it should be done.
Let me, just one minute more. While giving connectivity to Kailash Mansarovar Yatra route, I had hard rock, vertical hard rock to my valley side. And there is a mistake, here in open forum, that's a mistake that we did of cutting too much to the hillside. That was my only point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir. Mountains and the tunnels. Working in the mountains all my life, I feel that the EPC contract, which is their standard document for the plains, does not work in the mountains, whether it is the tunnel or the normal mountains, because the kind of variables which are there, the quality of, we've been talking about quality of DPR, yes, whatever we may do, the kind of investigations required for making a DPR of a tunnel, we cannot go beyond a point. Where can we use the geophysical investigation, we can use the aerial survey, whatever, but still variables are there. So my suggestion, we have all the think tank of the ministry and the EPIC forum of the road transport, that we must modify our contract conditions, that especially EPC, for the mountains in terms of tunnels and mountains in general.
Yeah. Please.
Colonel Sudhira, what you said is perfectly all right. In fact, when this EPC was being discussed, when I was chief, I said EPC is okay for the plains, but hills, there will be too many surprises. And we cannot factor even during the DPR stage, because many surprises come during construction also. So we have to have flexibility, means we prepare a DPR, but we should be open for the surprises and midterm corrections. If you feel a person on the ground can misuse that, then we can form an independent committee, a committee of experts, maybe from the institution or other people can come. And when it is genuine, it is better to do midterm correction. If you make incorrect highway, we will suffer during maintenance also. So surprises we may have to factor in, we have to modify the EPC contract, keeping provisions to cater for the surprises and the various new issues which has cropped up during the construction. So I fully endorse with his views.
In addition, I will, what was first asked by Basit, that further Sudhira, whatever he said, document need correction, it is fact. For EPC, Hilly region EPC contract needs certain tweaking. More than that, our attitude for also need means correct, prudent decision making also. The DPR accuracy has to be at per site condition, and it has to be examined very diligently, means 5 times more accurately as in plane, that I will suggest. Problem is ki while we risk assessment and whatever document we have written in, most problem has been done in breezes also we have written span changes, no cost. Slope stabilization also we written similar, it changes but no cost. That only tweaking is needed. Ki whenever whatever we have given design and explicitly mentioned in Schedule B, that is to be executed, plus minus has to be accommodated in COS. And apart from that, hill roads, whenever slips occur, it is always a means fight between contractor and authority. Whose responsibility is this? So that responsibility or has to be defined clearly. Ki up to what level it is contractor's responsibility, and beyond that, it is the cost has to be borne by authority. It is not a very difficult questions to answer, but it needs certain policy guidelines type executive directions sort of thing. I think with this we conclude this interesting discussion on hill roads, and we conclude.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all our esteemed panelists for sharing such valuable insights on highway development in hilly areas. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a big round of applause for, in a way of thanking from our side to all the esteemed panelists as they shared their perspectives. Your expertise and thoughts have shed light on the unique challenges of terrain, sustainability and infrastructure planning, while also offering innovative solutions for safer and more resilient roads. Thank you very much for those perspectives. Thank you very much. So as we thank our eminent panel for sharing their ideas on the development of highways in the hilly areas, we'll now move on to the final panel discussion, which is panel number 4, on the theme of emergence of Indian construction companies as global players. As we take a few moments to